Good defensive player of the year.
It's got to be Nick Bosa. Got to be Nick Bosa. He
Yeah.
had over 20 sacks. And he was the leader of that 49ers defense. Monsters team. Honestly, got kind of gypped out of potentially a Super Bowl appearance, but we won't go there. But honestly, it's got to be Nick Bosa. I mean, give it to a couple other guys, but consistently, home wrecker.
Yeah, Micah Parsons, the media wanted to give it to him, and then he was playing like that. Then he kind of just disappeared through the last few weeks of the regular season, and he played well, but he didn't play as dominant as he had played earlier in the year. So I feel like Nick Bosa is the fair point. It's still like with how dominant TJ Watt played, it's hard not to put him there,
He
but he
missed a
missed too
ton.
many games. But
Yeah.
like if we're talking about the best player on defense this year, I absolutely think it was TJ Watt. But for the fact that he missed so many games, it has to be Nick Bosa.
Yeah, Nick Bosa. I feel like that's who's probably going to win. I think he deserves it. Coach of the year. I feel like we'll have different opinions on that one.
I'm gonna again stick with my preseason pick for coach of the year, Nick Sirianni. I think when you're the best coach of the best team in your conference from a team that everyone thought you were a bumbling idiot, you're talking about systems that are easy to understand in places, and then players will play their role. And everyone's like, what is this guy talking about? He's showing Rocky the night before his first coaching game, and then it comes out that players love this guy, builds momentum at the end of last year, and then comes into this year and makes the Super Bowl. I mean, come on, bro. You can't make this stuff up, especially when Philadelphia moves off of Carson Wentz and Doug Peterson when you thought it was going to be one or the other. And he turns it around and then he makes a Super Bowl in year two. I don't know what more this guy could do or who else is a more deserving coach of the year candidate than Nick Sirianni, who everyone thought was a buffoon.
I can think of somebody.
No, you can't. No, you don't say Brian Daboll, please. Please.
His name is Doug Peterson.
Oh, thank God.
Doug Peterson. Think about the
Okay.
Jags had back-to-back first overall picks. They take Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence last year plays putrid. You can point to whoever if you want to, but looked like a bust for the first year. And then they go out and sign in some people's eyes, a 3 wide receiver in Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Signed Evan Ingram, a nobody. And then you get the Zay Jones of the world. Who? You get the Marvin Jones of the world. Whatever.
Oh,
And
don't
then
do that to him.
I don't think people care about Marvin Jones that much, to be honest.
I do.
That's you. Yeah, you pick a team that was 2-15 last year, and they go win their division. Then they go to the Chargers, are down 27-0, and then come back. Trevor Lawrence plays a terrible first half, comes back, plays an amazing second half. Trevor Lawrence, they start off 4-8, they struggle, make the playoffs, beat the Chargers, and are competing against the Chiefs. They cover against the Chiefs. Doug Peterson, yes, he was a proven coach prior, and I know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, what about Brian Daboll? I think that the Jags turnaround is more severe than that of the Giants. Granted, the Giants have less talent, but I don't think the NFC is pretty weak, and the Jags are not. The Jags are in one of the toughest conferences. Well,
Yeah,
they're
and
in the toughest conference.
they won a game versus a team that had loaded up in the offseason and pushed all their chips as the center of the table, and they were able to go in there and get it done versus the Chargers. So I feel like just the fact that the Jaguars were able to get there and win a playoff game, and then the Giants game versus the Eagles, once they got to the real deal, wasn't competitive. The Jaguars were still, they were kind of hanging around. It was a one-score game. If I forget the punt returner's name who fumbled the ball for the Jaguars at the goal line. If he doesn't fumble it and then Trevor doesn't immediately throw a pick, like you had 2 turnovers in your last 3 drives versus the Kansas City Chiefs in a 1-possession game. You can't tell me that if they don't fumble it and they get a touchdown there, that the Jaguars couldn't have come out on top on that game when Patrick Mahomes was in severe pain. That was when he was struggling. Chiefs couldn't move the ball up and down the field. So he got his team in position to beat the team that made the Super Bowl. On the other hand, Brian Daboll, wipe out. See you later. Goodbye.
To be fair, I think the Jags roster is better than that of the Giants. The Giants Defensively, there's some nice players. They got some nice storylines. Daniel Jones is not Trevor Lawrence, and their weapons are god awful.
I could find some people dumb enough to debate you on if Daniel Jones is better
Oh,
than
please have
Trevor.
them on. I will
Uh,
destroy them. I will light them up and spit them out and set them on fire.
So let me take you back to the first 5 years of his career.
Yes, literally. Have you seen him literally any other year?
Yeah, trip and fall on his
Here's
face.
how you make this is how you make Daniel Jones work. You make him not throw the ball. Wow. Franchise guy.
Franchise guy.
All right.
And offensive player of the year?
I think it belongs to honestly either or, but I'm going to pick Justin Jefferson for offensive player of the year. It's like I don't think if you're going to make the MVP a QB award, that the quarterback should also get offensive player of the year.
No, I
So if
agree.
that's the case, make it a non-skill position. I mean, make it another skill position. And Justin Jefferson, I think the way he carried his team throughout the year, some of those great catches, the Bills catch. I mean, there's a reason why I had him as my third MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Because it's like granted, I know there's this other talent. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback, but it's like some of the catches he made throughout the season and the fact that he had one of the best wide receiving seasons of all time, it's got to be him or Tyreek.
Yeah, it has to be him or Tyreek. However, Justin Jefferson had more yards than Tyreek Hill, and then he was the better receiver consistently. I get he had his quarterback the whole time, but I feel like if Tyreek Hill had Tua the whole time, he may have been right there with Justin Jefferson. But the fact that Justin Jefferson is an MVP finalist this year as a wide receiver speaks volumes, and then it would make the second skill position player in the Vikings history that had won an MVP when you go back all the way back to the Adrian Peterson year when he won MVP as a running
That's
back.
right. That's right.
Because I believe he broke the rushing record that year, and that's why they gave him the MVP.
He got 2,000 rushing yards.
Yeah, and it's like you get to a point where it's the Russell Westbrook rule, where if a player does something historic that hasn't been done in a long time, then you get the MVP for it. And then anytime that happens after that, they stop giving people the award for the exact same thing. It's like Russell Westbrook gets a triple double. They're like, first time that's ever happened. Then the next year he's like, hey, I averaged another triple double. They're like, yeah, well, we can't give it to you again.
Yeah, the narratives for sure.
Yeah.
I also think Cooper Kupp deserved an MVP vote last year. So I don't know. I'm interested to see how the wide receiver role expands in the MVP race because there's anybody that deserved MVP this year as a wide receiver, it was Justin Jefferson. Some of the
Yeah.
catches he made.
And then you want to talk about the MVPs at wide receiver. Let's look at Josh Allen without Stephon Diggs. Let's look at what A.J. Brown did for the Eagles. Let's look at what DeAndre
D-Hop.
Hopkins initially did for Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Let's look at what Cole Kmet did for Justin Fields.
Yes. Exact parallels. Couldn't
Yeah,
put it better.
exactly.
So yeah, offensive player of the year for me is Jay Jeff.